Okay. Okay, so welcome to the first webinar for the year. I'm really excited that so many of you are attending. The topic is the first Mussar topic, wisdom, Chochma. So some of you participated in the Chai Mitzvah last year, and I'm really happy to see you on the video, on the webinar. When I talk about the program, there are going to be some things that, of course, you already know, but there are new people here as well. So hopefully it'll be an opportunity for you to share your wisdoms and insights from last year, and for people who didn't do this last year to ask any questions that they might have. So I'm going to start this webinar the way I start all of them, by talking about how much I love it when everybody posts on Facebook. So I'm really excited because so far this year already, people have posted questions, which is great because we can communicate that way. For example, questions about how to start your classes this year. And Shireen in Austin at Congregation Bethel already posted her first day. Her kids went kayaking, which sounds like a really exciting way to start the year. I don't think Shireen is on this call, though she registered. Shireen, if you are here, type into the Q&A. But if you're not, I will tell you that it looks like she did a great thing. She started talking about what their mitzvah projects would be, and she has some photos of them kayaking, and she started with some team builder things, and next time they're going to start with Chochma. So that's pretty exciting. And for those of you who didn't do this last year, I'm going to just start. We always have our agenda. We have our Facebook group. And now I'll go to an overview of the program, which you already know, but it doesn't hurt to review that Chai Mitzvah, as you know, combines learning from our texts that spark discussions, social action. We've got examples of volunteer opportunities for each topic that inspires you towards creative ideas for social action. And people who did this last year might share something they've done. And then spirituality, suggestions for finding meaningful ritual observance. We had, I think, Jerry, was that you who did the Mitzvah Day as part of our Chai Mitzvah? Again, he can't talk, but he can type in if he'd like to. And we've had some really nice things happening. Of course, you know about the webinars. Again, I try to make them at a convenient time using a doodle poll. We discuss the topic, and we exchange ideas, and we also have supplemental materials that I share with you. Again, I'm going to talk about the Facebook group. We just discussed it, but just to review, there it is. If you haven't already joined, I hope that you will and that you will participate in it. Are there any questions or comments so far? Okay, and I'll also remind you that there is a stipend which you will receive for piloting the program, for providing feedback and posting on Facebook and participating in the webinars, and at the end for returning the end-of-year survey. So for people who did this last year, and for people who are starting this year, so to clarify, there is a standard Chai Mitzvah curriculum, and you'll see the topics listed here on the page: rites of passage, tzedakah, philanthropy, individual and community. And then there are the Mussar topics that relate to each one. The Mussar curriculum is paired a midah with each topic so that you can do Mussar one year and the standard Chai Mitzvah for the next year, so the program can work in multi-grade groups. And also, it works very well because if you have a class that wants more text study, or if you want some background, you can use the adult source books for this additional text or background with each topic if you have that kind of group. So I'll just go over rites of passage prepared with wisdom, or Chochma. Oh, wait a second. You can look at the screen. I'm going to see if I can, oops, I can see what this is. Someone wants to chat. Okay, great. Oh, Jerry, thank you. Okay. They had a great mitzvah day. They worked in an affordable housing complex in Southbury, Connecticut, and the kids loved it. Yeah, I remember that it was really, really good. And now I also have the chat on the screen, so I won't miss it next time. Okay. So, as I was saying, tzedakah pairs with generosity, the individual community with compassion, with rachamim, the interpersonal relationships with spiritual friendship, chavruta, which is always very interesting to teens. I'm not seeing any comments in the chat. Are others seeing it? If you are seeing it, please type in. If not, whatever comes up, I will share Um, maybe it's because these were, yep, Harley's seeing it. Can you, Janice, can you see Harley's comment? Nope. Um, some people are seeing it, some are not. I don't know why some are and some are not. I will read all of the comments. So far, it's just people are saying they don't see the comments, but I will make sure that I read them. Okay, great. Janice will just keep listening and I'll keep talking. So, and if you have something to say, please type it in and I will read it. Now that it's up on my screen, especially, I'll see it right away. And so all of these different topics will be nice also to pair mitzvah projects with, and we have some suggestions for them. Mindfulness and conscious living goes with equanimity. Passover insights go with order, Seder. Israel and the Jewish spirit goes with faith, with bitachon. Gratitude with hakarat hatov, because that basically is gratitude. And Judaism and the environment with humility, with anava. It's very interesting. It talks about how much space you take up, which I found to be very interesting. So let's start with the themes for this month. Okay. One of them is that wisdom can be achieved from learning from every experience. And another one is that every midah can be measured in a spectrum. It's important to be balanced, not too much or too little of each value or character trait. So while Judaism emphasizes Torah learning, it also values the wisdom that comes from life experience. And what we learn here is that true wisdom cannot be learned from books. It derives from applied Torah, from our ability to truly live out Torah values in our own lives, which is part of what makes it really great for teens. The Mussar movement came to be in part because its founder, Rabbi Israel Salanter, was concerned that the yeshivot of his time were training Torah scholars that were not mensches. They didn't have decent character. He wanted Torah learning to be applied to character development so that students might become wise and compassionate as well as learned. So this time we pair the midah of wisdom to rites of passage because life cycle events are not only opportunities for celebration or for mourning, but they're also a time for deep spiritual growth. As people who did this last year will remember, we talked about rites of passage other than the Jewish rites of passage. We talked about going to sleepaway camp, getting your first part-time job, even going on the school bus for the first time as a kid. These are things that change you, and you're never going to be the same. And although they're good, they are also stressful. Let's see. Am I supposed to have something which looks like the slide you have up? You should have, yes, that is what the materials look like. That's basically the cover of the first one of Rites of Passage. So that if you have not received, oh, Helene, you do not have this. Oh, okay. Well, then do me a favor. I don't know why you don't have it, but also Harley didn't receive it. Just send me a quick email. You don't have it either? Did you, if you did not receive the materials, which I know I sent out for some reason, if you don't have them, please send me a quick email and I'll, actually, you know what I'll do? I'll send up a follow-up email after this. And yes, I'm glad you don't feel alone. You received the materials, but not this page? This is the first page. I'm going to resend the materials. I'm going to put a link in my follow-up email to make sure that everybody has everything. And anybody who doesn't have this, please let me know right away. Because I really do want you to have this. I don't know how you don't have this page, but I believe you that you don't. So I'll make sure that you have it this time. You'll tell me if you don't. Because that's really important. So we're gonna start with wisdom, and we're going to see how rites of passage are an opportunity to reflect on wisdom and what might be learned as your life goes forward. Okay, so I hope everybody has this page. You will have it if you receive the materials. This is called Me and MeDote, and it's a great place to start. Give each student a printout of this page. And we can try it ourselves as well. You'll see on the screen the page your students will have has more MeMeDote than what I could do in our Zoom poll, but it'll be fun for us to try. and we'll just do this for the experience. The idea is to see 3 MeMeDote, which you consider to be strong traits in your character, and 3 that you think you need to improve. So I'm going to launch the poll and give you a few minutes to work on it. That would imply that I could find my cursor. Anyway, I'm going to do that now, and then you can fill it out, and then we'll discuss what we do. Okay, there, it looks like we're started. I don't see people voting. Are you able to see the? Oh yeah, you are voting. Good, good, good. Glad to see it. It's gonna be very interesting to see what people do. It looks like 7 people are voting. Oh, okay. You know why? That's great. I love what Harley just said. If our answers feel too slow, check patience as your need. And you know what? That actually is something I need to check. You're awesome. So true. Um, oh, Shireen, you're here. You weren't here before. I wanted to thank you for posting on Facebook. And it looks like you had a great first day. I thought there were more pages. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, that's great. Hi. Oh, good. You can see the comments. I'm so glad. Good, good, good. This is pretty easy technology, but I do feel challenged, even though I've been doing it many times. So anybody who was not seeing it, don't feel bad about it. I've had some issues with it occasionally, even though I use it so often. So I will wait like 30 more seconds. I will try to use my patience, and then we can take a look and see what everybody has thought. Okay, I'm going to end the poll, and I'm going to share the results with you. So we look like a group that is very responsible. I'm going to share the results with you. Responsibility is the one that we feel that we are strongest in. Patience is second, and I'm afraid I might not be one of those people. Courage, nobody feels courageous here. It's interesting. Humility is up there. Generosity is pretty close to the same as humility. 50% of the people on this call feel that creativity is one of their top ones. Creativity and patience. That's great. And honesty. So we are a good bunch. We have no self-control and very little courage. But everybody is going to cultivate courage. That's good. And the next thing people want to cultivate is self-control and responsibility. I guess the 50% who didn't check responsibility will be cultivating it. I personally will cultivate patience. And it's just nice to look at this and see what we think and how it can focus our students on their own character traits. So we can look at, what did you observe about yourself? And will you change in any way because of what you observed? And then a nice thing to do is revisit this activity either after the end of the month when you've talked about the wisdom, or at the end of the year, depending on when you think is an appropriate time to do it with your students. But it's always a good way to start to start and let them focus on themselves and see how Mussar relates to yourself as a person. Now we're going to go to the first text. It is, who is wise? Ben Zoma says, who is wise? One who learns from every person. That's from Pirkei Avot. So one nice side effect of this is your students will be connected to Pirkei Avot. It'll become something that they're familiar with, and that they, if they are not already, and that they see is something that's relevant to them. I like this question that's coming up because they impart some knowledge, and then they go on to asking relevant questions. So Pirkei Avot, sometimes considered an early Mussar text, is itself a compilation of the ethical teachings and wise maxim of Mishnaic period rabbis. So now we can also discuss what the Mishnaic period is. Here, Ben Zoma is expanding the typical emphasis on Torah learning to remind us that learning and deep wisdom need not come only from Torah. Every person can be our teacher if we open ourselves to the lesson. So we're asking our students, as you consider your own life, who are the people who have influenced you, and what have you learned from them? So that's an interesting question. It's interesting to think about that, both on our level now and for students. And also extrapolating from Ben Zoma's statement about learning from people, we can assume that experiences can also be great teachers. So we can think about which experiences have affected us and how we've learned from them. And that kind of relates to the Chai Mitzvah topic of the month. And it's also a great way to get people talking about what they've been through and how their experiences have taught them different things. Again, the box is open. If anyone wants to chat, I am listening. But if no one has a comment, I'll go to the next page. I really like this one. I just find it amusing. It points out that we can learn not only from experiences, but from observing the world around us. Rabbi Yochanan said, even if the Torah had not been given, we would nonetheless have learned modesty from the cat, and that stealing is objectionable from the ant, and fidelity from the dove, and appeasement in marriage from the rooster. So I think probably many of us, the online poll. Yes, if you'd like to use it with your kids, I'll talk to you about how to use it online. They have it as a piece of paper. We have it for you to print out. But let's see if we can find a way to use it online as well. I also see a cue. Oh, this text is great to use when teaching madrichim about working with special needs kids. So true. Great observation. Yes. It's important for us to realize that everybody and everything has something to contribute. So that's a very good comment. A logistic question. How do all have the kids see these writings? Do you have the kids bring phones? Do you use iPads? That is a great question. There are lots of different ways to do it. Some people have smart boards. Some kids have phones or tablets. Some people print it out. Some people may not feel it's necessary to have every text. They might just give them the things that they're going to actually check or use. Someone who did it last year, how did you do it? Did you have every student get every text, or did you have a smart board? Anyone who'd like to answer here? She printed out what was relevant. Janice did. Yeah, that's a very good way to do it. Anybody else want to share? I asked the kids to bring a PDA and then text the answer to the facilitator. Oh, cool idea. Nice. Which reminds me also that this year we're going to have a mitzvah day, and we'll share by Instagram. We typically read aloud the materials, that were helpful. I would like to use tablets. How do I send them the links? Oh, easy. Did people find this to resonate with teens last year? Did it spark good discussion, or did you connect it to a good activity? So this is the first year of Mussar. There are activities that I'm going to share with you after we get through it. I also know there are a couple of people on this call who will have amazing activities because they just do, because of who they are. So if anybody has a suggestion, I'll be happy to listen. I like this one because I don't think we are as in touch with nature. Like, I had never thought that ants stealing would teach me about stealing being objectionable. And I think it's interesting to focus the kids on that. Oh, Sue Penn said, my teens loved last year's program and are excited to do Mussar this year. That is great. And I'm really excited for you to do it because I know you're going to do an amazing job. So let's think about what kind of a discussion we can have with this, that we're learning from the animals or from nature in general. See, the other thing is it's nice because this opens up to nature. And having worked for J&F for many years, I have a lot of nature examples. So we're thinking of our life as a spiritual curriculum, an opportunity to develop our character through our experiences, but also through what we observe. So we can ask the kids, can you identify something you've learned from your observations of animals or plant life or other natural phenomena? And that's not a question that's easy to answer at first. But for example, I love to use this one about the redwood trees. So the redwood trees are the tallest tree on earth, but they have roots that are like 4 feet long. So how do these little roots hold up these giant trees? The roots don't go down straight. They curve and they link together. So every redwood tree holds up another redwood tree. And that's something we can learn from nature, that we can be like the redwood trees and help hold each other up. Or another one is my favorite Arthur Waskow quote, which I think is actually he took from something else, but I don't know what. But he says, we breathe and the trees breathe. We breathe in what the trees breathe out. So we breathe each other into existence, and the breath goes in a cycle. That's another thing. If you observe nature, you realize how things depend on each other. So these are things you might use to get the kids started. I think that it's pretty obvious that what we put out comes back to us in some way. And I think that's something that we can observe and talk about when we read this. And then we can also go to different experiences. What MeMeDote or virtues do you think can be imparted from birth, bar mitzvah, conversion, marriage, death, and those things? But also let's think about other experiences that we've had, such as getting your first job, getting your driver's license, going to sleepaway camp, things that happen with a family, a parent losing a job. I mean, there are all kinds of things that happen, and it's good to get a discussion going, in a safe, friendly discussion going. So that's something that I would encourage. Oh, this is nice. Jerry, you had 8th graders, and you said that you found the kids to be surprisingly thoughtful. And that's really nice. And Janice said, having taught teens Mussar in past many times, it really resonates with them. So that's really good too. Harley said, our kids show skepticism about the lessons from Torah. Does this life experience focus without Torah lessons reinforce that? No, because I don't think so. I think because we are using text, it combines in a way that would still have respect for Torah lessons. There are skeptical teenagers, and I think this is actually a good way to take this skepticism and relate it to other texts and find it to be more relevant. I'll be interested to hear what you find when you actually start doing it. And being aware that your kids are this way, you know, is a good way to, a good thing when you start doing it to know what you're up against. But I've seen a lot of kids react very well to it. So I think you have a good chance, hopefully. Let's see. Okay, so the next text is silence is a fence for wisdom. I have to tell you that this actually confused me when I first read it. It's from Pirkei Avot. And so how can silence be a fence for wisdom? I realized that this is one translation of this text, but if you understand the text, if you think of 4 as a round, it makes sense. Silence is a fence that protects wisdom. So how can silence protect wisdom? I don't see anybody answering, so I'll answer. Well, you can see, we'll go to the next question. I'll tell you. People can be silent for all kinds of reasons, okay? All of which will lead, not all of them will lead to wisdom, but the one that will. So my daughter, when she was in 2nd grade, they were learning keyboarding, and she noticed that silent and listen had the same letters in them. And so the kind of silence where you're listening will lead to wisdom. Silence is very powerful, and listening and thinking before we speak is very powerful. Listening to be active, learning to be active listeners is a wisdom building skill. Totally, totally true. Thank you, Janice. Um, oh, doesn't this contradict thou shalt not stand idly by? I don't understand how that, maybe this is a comment on something before. Which text did you think was contradicting with thou shalt not stand idly by? I'm going to wait for Sue to answer. Silence. Oh, okay. So maybe that's the wrong kind of silence. There are different kinds of silence, and that's an excellent comment. No, I think that this silence is being an active listener and not just being silent and never moving. As we were saying before, it's really good to know every midah, you have to be right in the middle. You don't want to have too much silence or too much talking. You want to listen and then you can act. I think that's a really interesting and great comment to show us that exact thing that we were talking about before. We can think about how silence would be a useful tool in our cultivation of wisdom. That's an open-ended question. Clearly, if you just stand and do nothing, that's not a good use of silence. But if you consider being silent before you speak, but then you answer the question, and you're thinking about the impact of your words on others, then I think silence is a very good fence for wisdom. We teach when it is wise to be silent and when to speak up, Janice says. And I think that's what we're talking about here. So that's great. We found the kids were happy to see that adults struggle just as they do. Yeah, that's very true. It's an issue for adults as well, Jerry is saying. Yeah, definitely. I think it's a person issue. I think some people just tend to listen and it's easier for them to express themselves than others. So I think that's a really good discussion also. I know that there are some people I know who are a lot younger than me and they never say anything stupid. And then there's me. So, you look at, it's a great way of looking at the continuum and what silence can do for us to help us be wise, more wise. Now we're going to get to some MeMeDote, to some practices that'll help with the midah. So these are some of the activities we have for the kids to do, and we can expand on them and do them in ways that that are useful to us. So one is called Learn and List. You learn from every person, as Pirkei Avot suggests. Notice what you can learn from the small actions of others at least 3 times a day and make a list to share at the next class. I think sharing it at the next class is important because it will help them actually do it. You can decide what's best for your group and decide whether and how you'd like to share them. They could share it. They could just drop it on your desk. They could talk about it. Depends on your group and what you think is going to work with them. This one I like too. Acronym is art. So in the materials, it tells us that Chabad is an acronym derived from the first letter of the words Chochma, which is wisdom, Bina, which is understanding, and Da'at, which is knowledge. So we can do the same thing. We can take the Talmud to the test. We can contemplate at least one of the following things in the natural world, because we're talking about contemplating the natural world. So look at a cloud or a blade of grass or some water, a breeze, a spider, anything, precipitation, a tree, a flower, anything you see, and write a poem where the first letter of each line describes something you have discerned from this careful observation. So I put one together here. Sun, shine mitzvot on the world, unleash your creativity, and have a new light every day. That might be a fun thing for our students to try. Then this one, this could be nice to share on our Facebook group. You might consider having a blog for your students. Is there someone in your life whom you consider wise? Interview him or her, asking questions like, I consider you very wise. How did you get there? What are the most important lessons you've learned in your life? How would you advise someone like me who would like to develop wisdom? And then they can share their interview online or offline or as a video And that could be an interesting thing to do. It's interesting to see who they would choose to talk to as well. I'm not even going to ask you for comments because I know that you will speak up if you want to. This is a very nice thing. So this is these are MeMeDote cards that you can print out and cut up, and you can use them during a lot of the sessions, not just this one, but we start with it here. This is a supplement page. You can print it out. They can cut them out and refer to them in different ways. For this session, pick out those MeMeDote that you think are most closely related to wisdom and share the reasons why you chose them. And this way you can discover how different MeMeDote interconnect with each other. And they can do this in pairs or in small groups and then share it. I gave them like a number. I said choose 3 to 5 because otherwise they might just think that all of them relate in some way, which is good too, but it could take a very long time to get through. Any suggestions for how you would want to use these? Okay. Now here's a link, one of our first social action links. This is for Character Day. So the suggestions in the Mussar curriculum are a little different from the standard ones. Not all of them are things you would actually do. They're more like, some of them are just like information. This one, however, is something you can do. It's to Character Day, which is an amazing day when students dive into free printed discussion materials and resources while joining an online global conversation about character, focusing on who they are and who they want to be in the world, how to develop these character strengths. But the thing is, it is on September 13th. So most of us would not be able to participate in this year's Character Day. It's in 2 days, it probably doesn't fall on the right day, but Character Day is one day, but the resources that you'd find at this link are available all year round. And there's some really good ones. So you might be interested in checking this out. Then we have some additional information. This is, I think some people already know about this, and some people have said they're using it the first time, the first session. The 10-minute video, The Making of a Mensch. It's at letitripple.org. It's great. I suggest that everybody use it in the first session because it's a really, really nice video. It's very, very well made, and it's interesting, and it really explains things very well. Then if you want more information about Mussar, letitripple.org, where this filmmaking of a mensch is, also has other information. The Mussar Institute is good. Yes, Shireen plans to use it. You will love it. Did you see it already? I'm going to imagine that she just typed yes, because she probably wouldn't say it was a nice video if she hadn't. So it is. It's a great video. She just typed yes. Great. And at that same link, there's more information on Mussar if you need it. The Menschlings are at the end of the booklet. Exactly right. That's what I'm going over, what's there. Exactly. And then there's this nice link. So wisdom is one of the 10 sefirot, the emanations of God that are in Kabbalah. And there's a nice tree of life representation, and you can click on this link and see it. Might be something you want to put up in your room, or just show to the kids. And then, so we have these nice MeMeDote cards that we can use, but you can also get some at letitripple.org if you want to. So that's available. And so these are nice links. And something you might want to talk about with your kids when you talk about Chochma and Chabad. Chochma and Bina appear sefirot in this mystical tree of life, and appear in Exodus to describe qualities of Bezalel, one of my favorite figures, the guy who the art school is named after. He was a divinely inspired craftsman of the tabernacle. And what it says about him in Exodus is, I have filled him with the Spirit of God, with wisdom, Chochma, with understanding, Tvuna, which means the same as Bina, with knowledge, Da'at, and with all kinds of skills. So first of all, I like this because he was an artist, and I think there's a lot of artists, creative people who need that recognition. And also because it might be interesting to discuss the perceived differences between the terms Chochma and Bina and Da'at, just to see what the difference is between these different MeMeDote. So that's why I wanted to bring that up to you. Oh, here's some interesting. There's a good discussion link along with the Making of the Mensch video. That's right. And the same, um, Harvey says, it looks like, I can't read who this is. L. Siegel in Calgary wrote, oh, yes, the Dr. Yes, yes, yes. I know about that. Yeah, the Dr. Seuss 4 questions on Passover. Excellent. Yeah. So when I send out my follow-up video to this webinar, I'm going to make sure that these links and these comments are in there so that people who want to find the links will be able to do it easily. And it is time for Q&A. If anybody has anything that they would like to share, I would love to hear it. I will use my silence. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make you, I'm going to unmute everyone so that you can speak, because I never want to end a webinar without hearing your voices, because I feel like I'm just talking in a void. So first of all, I want to thank you so much for participating and ask if any more questions or comments. I am going to promote you to panelists again. It's good. I think we had some nice comments here and some interesting things. And I want to thank you for people.
Can we?
Hi. Okay. So for you who I can see, that's great. And for those of you who I can't see, I can at least hear you. Ellen, I hope that you will arrive safely back at your home in not too much time, that everything will be good. And thank you, everybody, for participating. Are there any more questions or comments that you would like to share?
Can you hear me? This is Ellen.
Yes, yes.
I couldn't get, unfortunately, I couldn't interact at all during the webinar. That wouldn't let me, and I didn't get any visuals or anything, but I did listen. And so you're going to have a recording of this?
Yes.
Okay.
There'll be a recording of this, and I also send out the PowerPoint as a.
Oh, great! Because the only thing I got was the poll. I mean, that was the only thing I got.
Well, I'm glad you got the poll. It was interesting to see how non-courageous we are.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
But you know what I really think?
Maybe we are, though, courageous and don't realize it. I mean, as a people.
That's what I was thinking. We might be more courageous than we think. We're just self-critical, I think.
Yeah.
Right. So Jerry is muted again. Oh, I know, because you're outside, right?
Yes, my apologies. I don't want to disturb everybody. This doesn't often happen, but I had to be out today. So
I don't blame you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for attending, and I'm looking forward to the next time that we get together. And thank you for your comments. Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Nina.
you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.